Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
Luke Carlson, you are the founder and CEO of Discover Strength. You're a practitioner, speaker, and author on the topic of strength training and evidence-based exercise programs. You're an American College of Sports Medicine certified health and fitness specialist. That's a bit of a mouthful. And hold the unique distinction of being an American College of Sports Medicine certified cancer exercise specialist. And I can see why they abbreviated that now, because that's pretty long as well. You earned a Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology and a Master of Science in kinesiology as well, with an emphasis in exercise physiology from the University of Minnesota. So you've been pretty busy. Excellent stuff. So when you say kinesiology, which I understand to be the study of movement, is because we don't use that here in the UK for like sports science and courses to do with the physical body. So is that basically, what is that? So can you elaborate on what that means and what you study?
Yeah, it's the term that the academic community in the US anyways really landed on as the best description for exercise science or sports science. It's supposed to be the broad term that incorporates or encompasses the smaller branches that would include exercise physiology, motor learning and control, biomechanics, and even some sports psychology aspects as well.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Okay. So let's start with you and your business. What kind of led you to starting Discover Strength? Was there a critical turning point for you, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the year was 2004. And at that time, I was in graduate school, and the only thing I had ever wanted to do is either become a strength coach in the NFL in the U.S. or become a tenure track faculty member in an exercise science department at a big university. So those are only two things I ever thought about. Mm-hmm. Well, I was spending some time with a guy by the name of Jim Flanagan. Jim Flanagan was really Arthur Jones's right-hand man through a couple of decades at Nautilus and MedX when MedX was founded. And we were spending some time together, and he said, why don't you think about getting into business, or why don't you think about the business side of things? And I thought, I had never thought about that ever. I mean, literally, I remember as an undergraduate, we would mock people that cared about business or were in business in any way. And for me at that time, it made perfect sense because it allowed me to build something, really first and foremost, build a facility where we could have kind of a no-compromise approach to how we wanted to exercise and how we wanted a client or a trainee to exercise. So that's what turned me on. And then very, very soon after making the decision that that's what I wanted to do, I was so engaged and so turned on by the idea about learning about business and learning about leadership and learning about management. So at this time right now, I can say that I'm equally passionate about understanding exercise and strength training, and also understanding business and leadership and management and everything associated with that.
Cool. No, that's really good that you've got both of those prioritized in terms of actually continuing your understanding of how to stimulate the human body, but then also focus on the business side as well, which I'm also really interested in. Cool. Okay. So you have 3 facilities, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what would you, obviously you've done really well and the business has grown and you've had some success. What would you say, if you could summarize, what are the kind of secrets to your success in business?
Yeah. So the first one is what I would call broadly focus. So many entrepreneurs, so many fitness people, they start something and then they get distracted by shiny things.
Oh, yeah.
And before I was even aware that this was important, I did it. When we started, I said, we want to be great at one thing. We want to be great at personalized strength training, and really specifically for us, it was personalized high-intensity strength training, and that is all we want to do. That's the only thing we want to focus on. As we started to grow and other opportunities came our way, we said no to anything else that didn't really fit that focus. Now, as the business has grown even more, we've really specifically articulated that focus and what we want that focus and what we want that niche to look like. But I think being successful starts with having an incredible laser focus as to who you are, what you're all about. So that would be the starting point. The second component, or I think the second step that's really led to our success, is our ability to really share a vision with our teammates, with our employees. I mean, to be successful, we need great people on our team and our company. We think that people come before anything else. And so the vision that I've had and the vision that we've had as an organization, our ability to share that with the rest of our team to attract the right people to our company, to retain the right people in the company, and to allow the company to grow, that's been key. So I think it starts with focus, and then we move forward from there to attracting the right people, sharing this vision, getting them on board with the vision, and having everybody really rowing in the same direction toward that shared vision. And you can't do that unless you have the right people.
Awesome. No, that's awesome advice. Do you mind sharing the metrics in terms of the growth of your business?
Yeah, so one of the things that we track, and we track revenue and we track profitability, we care about all those things, but we're a personal training company, so we love to track workouts. How many times did one individual come in for their one workout with a trainer? Because that's what we can really wrap our heads around. And so we started off, we opened up in 2006, so we're approaching 9 years, and we didn't know how many workouts were possible in a given week in one of our locations. So last week, it just so happens that we set our all-time high number for number of workouts. We did 804 workouts. Now, when I say workouts, I mean that's someone coming in and getting trained. It's not just a membership-based style of a business platform. So that means a trainer is taking that person through their workout, and we did 804 last week, which is a big number for us.
That's incredible. No, that's pretty awesome. I think these are some good answers, because I think I believe a lot of my listeners, which I know 50% are in the States, are budding personal trainers who are probably looking to learn how they can improve their business or build a business, or it's people who are just fascinated by high intensity training. So this is and a bit of both actually. This is some really good advice. So tell me, when I know that you're pretty big on and pretty adept at the sort of sales process, and so when you have a new person, a prospect walk through the door, I imagine you have quite a slick process as to how you engage that person and try and close a sale. Can you explore that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we do is we offer a free introductory workout. And there's a lot of controversy in our field as to whether or not you should do a free introductory workout or if you should just do a consultation. And some people would even say that when you offer a free introductory workout, you're devaluing the service because you're offering it for free. Well, for us, what we firmly believe is that we have to demonstrate value and we have to demonstrate uniqueness. And the best way for us to do that is take somebody through the workout. I mean, we have clients that come in who've done every type of workout under the sun, everything that you can imagine, and they've trained with different gurus, and they've trained with different personal trainers, and literally 6 minutes into that introductory workout, they're sold. They understand it because they've never experienced anything like high-intensity training, okay? So we think we have to demonstrate value by doing the free introductory workout. So that's how we start, all right? We learn a little bit about the client, we go through the free introductory workout, and then at the end of the free introductory workout, the key component that I think so many great trainers miss out on after you've done a great job with the free introductory workout is that you have to ask for the sale. So this is true in every profession, but the reason we don't get sales is we don't actually ask for the sale. What we typically do is we take someone through a great workout, we talk about the benefits, we give them a full explanation of the different ways they can get started with us, and then we say, have a good day. And then we hope that they come back again. Or when we give them a follow-up email, they say, by the way, I want to get started. So the way we've solved that issue for us is we ask for the sale, and when we ask for the sale, we always ask, starting with the word how. We say, how would you like to get started? And then we give them 2 options. And both of those options involve becoming a client. So we say, how would you like to get started? With our one-on-one workouts are our small group workouts. So that puts that client in the position that their answer can be only one of those two things. Now, of course, they can say, well, hold on, I'm not ready to do either one of those, and we can kind of deal with that at that point. But instead of saying, do you want to get started? Or what do you think? We always say, how do you want to get started? And then we lay out the two options. And preceding that, we've already explained what makes us unique. We've explained what we call our proven process, kind of how things will move forward from here. And then we ask that question, how do you want to get started? Giving them two options, and then they select from one of those two options. And then after we ask that question, how do you want to get started? We just stop talking and let them answer. Okay? We sometimes lose a sale because we talk too much. And we want to just be as brief as possible, ask that question, stop talking, and let them answer.
No, I think that's fantastic. It's a great closing question, actually. Do you know what I'd be fascinated is, because I've had a number of conversations with people about high-intensity training, and I think it's such a difficult concept to articulate, and I assume that your staff are quite well-trained and adept in actually communicating the benefits of high-intensity training, or, sorry, your personal sort of training approach. How do you do that?
So we do a couple things. One, we want to first find out what's bringing the client in the door. What are they interested in? Are they interested in running a faster marathon? Are they interested in adding lean muscle tissue? Are they interested in improving their body composition? Do they have aches and pains? Do they have low back pain? What is it that brings them in the door? Are they a person that's never exercised before and they just want to do something and they think our environment is the right environment? Or are they someone that's done every type of workout you can imagine, every fad, every trend, they've jumped on board and they've somehow arrived at our facility. So we want to learn a little bit more about them so that we can tailor our discussion towards that individual. And then what we do is, as we go through the workout, and we'll only do like 6 to 8 exercises during this introductory workout, we're going to trickle information to them that we think is interesting to them. And we do that simultaneously as they're actually going through the workout.
Okay.
So we'll do a little bit of explanation, and then we'll do an exercise. And let me tell you, doing that exercise and training the way we train with a slow speed of movement, minimizing momentum, maximizing tension on the musculature, training not to just a repetition goal, but training to momentary muscle fatigue, maybe doing some advanced overload techniques after the point of momentary muscle failure. That really speaks volumes for kind of what the approach is all about. Then we move on to the next exercise, and as we move on, we're going to talk about, hey, here's another benefit, or here's something else you need to think about, or here's why we're doing it like this versus this. You've probably heard this myth or misconception. We're going to do it like this. One of our key focuses during that is we don't want to alienate the client. We don't want to make the client feel like they're not informed, or everything they've done in the past is silly or stupid or makes no sense. We want to make sure that we're building rapport the entire time that we're educating. So we want to trickle in the right amount of education toward topics that they're interested in, and then the workout itself educates. Okay, we say it's like test driving a car. I can tell you all about the the features and benefits of this car, what its handling is like, what the creature comforts are like. But until you get behind the wheel of that car, you don't get a real sense for it. So that's what actually experiencing the workout does, is it puts you behind the wheel of the car so you can actually experience it. So we think both of those things, learn by doing and learn by us sharing that information or trickling that information, is key. And the other key is that we don't want to share everything in that first workout. We don't want to overwhelm that client with information. We want to give them enough information so, one, they understand the workout, and number 2, they understand that we have expertise and it makes sense that they would pay us for that expertise. If we can't demonstrate that we have expertise, they're not going to view us as that expert and as that leader that they want to come to and spend money with, etc. So that's what we have to do from day one.
Okay. That's a great answer. Where do you see most kind of health and fitness businesses or personal trainers fall down?
In that specific introductory process, or just as a whole? As a whole
in their business.
Okay. Yeah, great question. So some of these things are extremely basic, but the basics are really what allow us to be brilliant. One of them would be that we start to demonstrate a disinterest in the client or in the workout itself. Okay, so let's almost put methodology aside. So whatever are the tenets of the methodology of the workout that you're teaching, that you're coaching. For us, we really emphasize pauses in a contracted position. We emphasize a slow eccentric speed of movement. We emphasize transitions in the repetition that eliminate momentum. Okay? We emphasize a really high level of effort nearing the point of muscle failure. We emphasize breathing, for example, avoiding the Valsalva maneuver. Those are just an example of a few things. Well, one of the keys is that as the instructor, as the trainer, you can never grow tired or never grow bored of celebrating and coaching those basic things, okay? As time goes on, you have to be just as enthusiastic, just as focused on the detail of a repetition, whether it's the 7th client you've trained that day and you've been doing this for 10 years, or it's the first time you've ever seen that client. So I think so many trainers stop emphasizing the things that are fundamental and the things that are important. They maybe even come across as disinterested to the client. Now, one of the ways you do that is not coaching things with the same intensity or the same vigor. Another way you can do it is just by your posture and body language. We stress posture and body language from our trainers, or with our trainers all the time, is are you in a position? Are you positioning your body, your demeanor, your entire body language in a way that you are engaged with the client, okay? That client comes to see us 30 minutes once or twice per week, okay? They don't care that we're seeing 70 other clients on our own schedule that week. They only care about what's going on during that 30 minutes. So we have to have this focus on making that 30 minutes special. So posture and body language is an incredibly important aspect of that, okay? Another one would be teaching the client why you're doing what you're doing. So many times we're running a client through a workout, the fitness professional is running a client through the workout, but not sharing, hey, this is why we're doing some of the different things that we're doing. This is why we've made the changes to your workout. These are some of the things that I thought of when I programmed this kind of round of workouts for you. So sharing your expertise. A client wants to know that you are learning, that it's an evolution, it's a constant process of you as a professional getting better, and you have to trickle that to them during their actual workouts, okay? And then I would also say the basic things like customer service. So is the scheduling process incredibly easy? When they schedule a workout with you, is it easy to schedule? Is your follow-up perfect? If you say you're going to do something, do you do it? If you say you're going to email an article to them, do you email that article to them? Do you respond to them via phone, via email, in a prompt fashion? Okay, so we want to be a customer service leader. We say forget what industry and forget the fact that we're doing fitness. We want to be the best in the world at customer service. We want a Ritz-Carlton type commitment to customer service. And I think if trainers are a little bit more focused on what can I do in terms of customer service, not just the training standpoint, they'd be very successful. Because remember, our target client is used to receiving a certain level of customer service from the restaurants they go to, wherever they get their hair cut, a spa that they go to, all these other personal services that they purchase. The level of customer service, there's a bar that's set, and we want to meet or exceed that level. Okay, and I think in our industry, in personal training, it's very, very common that we don't give that level of customer service. And we say, hey, I'm the fitness guy. I'm going to push you through your workouts, and you should value me just because of that. Well, I don't think that's enough. I think you have to have the commitment to customer service as well. So those are a few areas that I think that so many trainers tend to get off track. I mean, there's silly things like looking at your cell phone during a workout. There shouldn't be a cell phone anywhere. Yeah. It's being in a gym environment and having other members or trainers around and making eye contact and talking with them when your when your client is right in front of you. All of our trainers will tell you that when that client's in the room with us, our eyes are 100% focused on them. I mean, a plane can crash outside of the window here, and we are going to be focused on our client because that's what they're paying for. So they deserve our undivided attention the entire time. Now, those things sounds so incredibly basic, but that's what the customer is interested in, is your undivided attention, your focus for the time period that they're there.
That's a very good answer. Tell me, I interviewed Dr. Doug McGrath twice, Fantastic, brilliant man. And he mentioned, we talked about why hasn't high intensity training took off like it should? And he said two things. He said, one, maybe the guys in HIT are just really crap at marketing. And then secondly, because it's so damn hard. And I'm fascinated because you have grown a successful business teaching a concept that is really discomforting. I mean, it's not fun. So how would you explain that? Like, how do you overcome that resistance that a lot of people have to a very excruciating workout, even if it is only once a week?
Yeah, Lawrence, that's a really interesting question. I was taught really the same thing. This is probably 15 years ago. Someone said, a mentor of mine that I had worked with said, what we do will never be popular because it's so incredibly hard, and no one wants the message that you just have to do this high level of effort, high intensity work. And I thought, okay, maybe that's the case. We found that to not be the case whatsoever.
Interesting.
We push our clients incredibly hard, and the feedback we get from them after they go through a certain number of workouts, we ask them 4 key questions. And one of the questions is, if we could slightly increase the intensity of your workouts, keep it the exact same, or slightly decrease it, okay, because you're almost fearing coming in for your workouts, they're so intense. What would you want? And literally, almost all of them say, you can push me even harder. What we call internally as a company is we've created this intensity monster where we are pushing people so incredibly hard and they want more of it, all right? So, and honestly, we're pushing people sometimes harder than they need to be pushed to really maximize the results and the benefit they would see, but they become so addicted to the actual intensity. And I fall into that category also in my own workouts. I love the intensity being that high, and a vast majority of our clients, and when I say clients, I mean 20-year-olds and I mean 72-year-olds, really, really want to be pushed. Now, why have we been successful as far as that goes? I think it's because we educate our clientele that the level of intensity is the most important controllable factor and the results that they're going to see. It's not the exercise selection, it's not the mode of resistance, it's not how often you work out, it's not which exercises you choose, it's the level of intensity on the exercises that you perform. Mm-hmm. And I think all of our clients understand that, and that's been one of our key marketing messages overall. So I think our internal marketing messages, so I think they get that, and I think we've been able to grow because of that.
When you say intensity, do you mean, to define that, you mean strength relative to the resistance? Is that
yeah.
How do you define it more clearly than that, perhaps?
So I guess we would define intensity roughly as maybe a percentage of momentary ability. Okay. Are you training to the point of momentary muscle fatigue on that exercise, in that environment, in that sequence, on that exercise?
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Good stuff. So, is there a basic workout protocol that you start people off with at Discover Strength, or is it bespoke every time? Yeah.
That's a great question. So, we generally will start people with a basic workout that they'll start off just for, maybe 10 to 20 workouts. And the reason we start them with that is then as a staff, we can focus more on learning what that client's all about, because the exercise prescription is so basic. We're so incredibly familiar with how to coach it, kind of what's next. We have a good idea of how they're going to respond to it, and it allows us to really dial into what that client's all about. After that, when we learn more about that client, then we can start to individualize some of the different things that we're doing for the client. And a lot of that is meeting that client's needs. And so it's not necessarily physiological in nature that this person, to achieve this goal, needs this prescription or this needs these exercise variables manipulated. They maybe don't need that, but we know how they're kind of wired and the kind of challenge they like and what mentally they're going to respond best to, so we can design the workout around that. And I have a million different examples of what that potentially can look like.
So what is the basic workout that they start off? Can you kind of elaborate on what that is exactly?
Yeah, for sure. So literally the first workout someone will do with us after they've done an introductory workout is they'll do a leg extension, a leg curl. Both of those happen to be on Medix machines. So a leg extension, a leg curl, and then a leg press. The leg extension and leg curl we use with a very slow speed of movement in this particular workout. We use a 10-second lifting, a 10-second lowering speed. Then we'll go to leg press. We'll do a 2-second lifting, 4-second lowering speed with a target rep range of about 12. And then we finish off the legs for that day doing an isolation movement for the tibialis anterior. So it's a machine for the tibialis anterior. Then we move to upper body. We do a manual resistance exercise for the posterior deltoids, just isolating the posterior deltoids. And then we'll do a MEDEX chest press using a 2-second, 10-second speed, really emphasizing the eccentric. We'll do a pull down. Now, depending on which location it is, it may be a MEDEX torso arm, it may be a hammer strength pull down, but we do a specific pull down. We do the chest press, and then we'll do a pullover. I misspoke. Okay. It'll be either a MEDEX or a Nautilus pullover, and then we'll finish that workout with a single joint bicep. So depending on which facility it is, it's a different model of a Nautilus bicep curl, and then we'll wrap up the midsection with a single joint abdominal flexion, and then usually a MEDEX back extension. So what we do in that workout is not only is it a total body workout, but we're going to have a mix of single joint and multi-joint. We're incorporating some manual resistance, which we really like, and we're really exposing the client to a variety of different movement speeds. So we have some 10-10 movement speed, we have some 2-10, we have some 2-4, so a variety of different movement speeds. The second workout that client would do would start with a calf exercise, another leg press, but we do the leg press in a different seat position, and then we'll use a super slow speed, a 10-second speed. Okay. And then we do a single joint adductor abductor movement, okay? And then the upper body would be a shrug movement, a single joint pec fly, which is always a Nautilus machine for us. So it's a shrug, a pec fly, then a multiple joint pulling movement, so it's either a MEDEX or a hammer strength pulling movement, and then a shoulder press, and just a variety or different locations, either a Nautilus or a MEDEX shoulder press, and then they would finish that workout with a rotation exercise. So generally it's a MEDEX torso rotation. So those are the two standard workouts that we'll start people off with, standard repetition speeds, etc. So some 10-10, some 2-10, etc. And then as time goes on, we really start to incorporate just what we would call more variety. So different movement speeds, different exercises, different sequences of exercise, etc.
Cool. Is it no rest between exercises? Is that the protocol?
So we allow enough rest so that we feel like someone's not terminating the exercise because of just absolute cardiorespiratory fatigue. They're terminating the exercise due to muscular fatigue. So we generally would do 11, 12, maybe sometimes 10 exercises in one workout, and we set aside 30 minutes for that. So if we're under tension for somewhere between a minute to 2 minutes on a given exercise, that allows for 30 seconds to a minute rest in between exercises. Some of our clients will move through much faster. Some will take more time. If someone just gets off the leg press, we won't rush them to the next exercise. We'll say, take your time. Now, yeah, exactly. Some of our programming will delineate that we want it to be no rest. So we have a leg sequence that we do where we'll go leg extension, immediately to leg curl, immediately to leg press, attempting 20 reps, immediately back to leg extension, attempting 8 reps, immediately back to leg press, attempting 12 reps. Those 5 in a row, we do absolutely no rest in between. We hustle. Our goal is 3 seconds or less in between each exercise. So we'll do that. And of course, we do that in a pre-exhaustion sequence, a post-exhaust sequence, and some other different sequences. But the standard workout will allow a little bit of time to catch your breath between exercises.
Okay, so it sounds awesome. I want to come to your gym. When are you gonna start one in the UK?
Yeah, that's down the road for sure.
Fair enough. Cool. Okay. So what? When you compare your gym to other high-intensity training facilities, what's different about your training method and the value that you add to your clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that we love to do is anytime we have a client who's traveling or is going out of town, they say, hey, where am I going to work out when I'm out of town? We always try to find some place they can train with, okay? So we have just a great network of people around the country, and we say, okay, this is the place you need to go. Let them know that we sent you. Go through workouts with them. And then when they come back, they always share a lot of feedback with us. If we didn't get the feedback from the client, we really wouldn't know what some of those major differences are. So on a top-line level, I think we generally do more exercises than most high-intensity places. There's a lot of facilities that are doing 6, 7 exercises, 5 exercises. We'll generally do 10 to 12 exercises, okay? So that's number one. Number two is we generally have more equipment in one of our locations than I think most high-intensity places. We just like equipment. We like a few different leg presses, multiple different pushing movements, multiple pulling movements, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a second difference. I think from a training standpoint is that we incorporate more variety in how we apply high-intensity training principles. I mean, we'll use everything from a 2-second, 4-second cadence to a 60-second concentric, 60-second eccentric cadence, and we use everything in between. We use a tremendous amount of negative only, negative accentuated, negative emphasis, all different movement speeds, a lot of manual resistance. So we have a lot more variety in how we actually apply the protocol. What we say is that we want to practice evidence-based exercise, and that umbrella of what the evidence says really works is pretty broad. So there's a lot of things that we can do under that umbrella as long as they're safe and they're supported by the evidence, and as long as we can progressively overload whatever it is, whatever technique, exercise modality that we're talking about. So that's a big difference. The next big difference, I think, is the overall level of intensity. And I'm not even arguing between us, Lawrence. I'm not even arguing that this makes us right. I just know it makes us different, that we push our clients extremely hard. We have never sent a client anywhere. When they come back, they always say, I really liked it, but they don't push me near as hard as I get pushed here. And so our level of intensity is extremely high. Now that always surprises us because we're so used to it. And honestly, when you start working someplace and you're just around each other and you just train your own clients and all of our trainers train each other, I mean, we all train with each other, you get a little bit insulated. So we sometimes forget how hard we are working or aren't working. And the feedback that we get is the intensity level is very, very, very high. And then I would say from a business standpoint is that we are obsessed with the customer experience. We want not just the workout to be great, but we want the entire customer service or the customer experience to be great, which involves customer service, the workout, etc. And I think maybe some of the high intensity places, and this is me venturing a guess, some of the high intensity places have been more concerned with the workout and not as concerned with that entire customer service experience. We want that customer service experience to be great from the time someone walks in the door, how they're greeted, how they schedule a workout, how our trainer interacts with them throughout the workout, and how we say goodbye to them, thank them for the experience, thank them for the business, and we move forward. So we're obsessed with that part of the equation as well.
I love the focus you put on every detail. I think that's awesome. So tell me, are you saying that even your elderly clients, do they want to work harder? Do they want the intensity? Because it's not what I see. I train at Keyser London, which is a MedX gym, and you're familiar with that.
Yep.
And it's not my experience. I don't see certainly the more senior citizens pushing themselves as much as they may be able to. And so tell me, what's your experience there?
Yeah, so everyone's a little bit different. Overall, I think our seniors would push themselves harder with us than we see in most other even high-intensity training facilities. We definitely have some seniors that we don't push as hard, but the reason we don't push them as hard is there's some type of underlying medical contraindication where we don't want to push them incredibly hard. But for the most part, our 60 and 70-year-olds and even our 80-year-olds push pretty darn hard relative to the rest of the population. I worked with a woman last night who's 66 years old, and I did my assessment workout with her where she was done, and I said, do you want the intensity to be higher? Do you want it right where it is, or do you want it to be a little bit lower? And she said, it can really be a little bit higher on everything. And I'm thinking, man, we're really pushing you hard right now. So I think when that client's educated that this is what's good for them, they want it. Now, I don't think you can always start off that way because sometimes you scare somebody away in terms of intensity. And Lawrence, that's a tough thing. Sometimes from day one, you have to demonstrate to the client how intense you can be so they realize there's value in it and that it's different. And if you don't push them right away, they'll never come back because they say, well, I can do that on my own, or that's easy to do. That's what was unique about that. Where if you push them too hard, they say, my goodness, I'm never doing that again because I couldn't walk for 6 days afterwards because I was so sore. So you have to understand the client that you're looking at. But to really get back to your question, I think we push our seniors pretty hard, and I think there's plenty of evidence to say that an older individual can still train with a high level of intensity. And intensity aside, there's so many other things that individuals should be focused on. They should be focused on quality eccentric muscle contractions. They should be focused on overall slow speed of movement and minimizing the external force that their joints are exposed to. Those things are all important.
Interesting. That leads me on to the next question, which I don't need my notes for. So I noticed in a YouTube video you were training someone and you were helping the trainee, I think this was with hip resurgence. You were helping the trainee with forced reps, which appears to allow that trainee to reach a deeper level of fatigue. Is that more productive than unassisted exercise till momentary muscular failure?
Yeah, so that is such a fantastic question. And I'll tell you right now that everyone speculates on that question. Everybody has written answers to that question, but very few people have actually researched that. All right, so one of the things that we're interested in is understanding what actually happens at the point of momentary muscle failure, and is there benefit to going beyond the point of momentary muscle failure. So that's one of our areas of research that we're interested in pursuing with, I know you're going to be interviewing James Fisher coming up.
Oh yeah, that was the other day actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we partnered up with him on a couple projects, and our future projects with him will really deal with that. The person that I think has researched this area more than anybody else is Dr. Wayne Westcott. And in his studies, and I think he does a great job of the design and the control and the supervision in his studies, is that when people go to the point of momentary muscle failure versus momentary muscle failure with assistance or assisted reps or forced reps, the people that do the forced reps improve their muscle strength statistically significantly better than people that just stop at the point of concentric muscle failure.
Right.
So now, that's not a whole ton of research there. There's not a whole ton of research there, but the few studies that he has conducted has shown a benefit to going beyond the point of momentary muscle failure. So we will do that on a pretty frequent occasion with most of our clients.
Okay, no, that's a good answer, and it makes me think about my own training. What about regarding overtraining? How do you ensure that, if you're doing forced reps, that you're not overtraining or getting too much time under load?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. So we would say that the number of exercises that you're performing is part of the equation, and then the rest period in between is incredibly important. So is someone training strictly always 2 times per week, or are they training once every 5 days, once every 6 days? So everyone's going to have an individual recovery ability, and everyone's going to be able to tolerate advanced overload techniques better. And then the best way to really assess is look at progress. Is the individual getting stronger, and are they adding lean muscle tissue and improving their body composition? And the way we assess that is we have a bod pod, so we do body composition analysis in the bod pod, so we can tell, hey, we've been training this person using this approach, and this is what their body composition is doing or isn't doing, and this is what their strength levels are doing. So by tracking all those different variables, or as many of those variables as possible, we can see, is this person overtrained? Are they recovered going into each workout?
Okay, cool. Good stuff. My question's just completely gone off my mind. So, but tell me, what do you see in the high-intensity training community that you don't like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I will admittedly say that I love high-intensity training. I love the high-intensity training community. I've never been a part of just one faction of the high-intensity training community, and I'm fairly open-minded to all of it. So when I was first introduced to it, it was in the National Football League. I was an assistant strength coach with a team that we used nothing but high-intensity training, and so that was my start. So I love high-intensity training in the athletic sense that's going on in the colleges, professional sports teams. I love that, and I love the far other end of the spectrum. I've always been really interested in everything Ken Hutchins ever has done, everything related to super slow, and I guess all the other, and I'm just going to use the term factions, all the different factions of high-intensity training.
Is that someone going to momentary muscular failure in your office?
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It sounds like it's right in my office, but he's away.
No, it's fine. It's more authentic. Sorry, continue.
Yes. But I've always been interested in all the different factions, and it felt like I could learn something from what all the different authors, the different speakers, the different practitioners are talking about. So I guess if you asked what I don't like, the first thing I would say is, well, I like most of it. The second thing I would say is there seems to be this these camps that are set up, believe it or not, within high-intensity training that, hey, we are a specific faction or sect of high-intensity training, and we only do it this way, and we're not going to interact with anybody that's outside of our way of doing things. To me, that seems a little bit closed-minded and a little bit silly. I've tried to keep an incredible open mind to all the different high-intensity practitioners, trying to learn from them, etc. So I think that's the one thing that's hurting us as a community, if you want to say a high-intensity community, is that we're too closed off into, I only follow this way of doing things, I only follow this specific author or this tribe leader in high-intensity training, and that's my guy. Where me, if you look at my bookshelf, I mean, it's everyone you can imagine, every practitioner you can imagine. There's somebody out there that's going to watch this and say, well, I guarantee you're not reading so-and-so, and I know that I am. I mean, we're reading it all, we're paying attention to it all, we're interested in it all, and I think that's healthy, I think that's productive, and I honestly think it's fun. I think it's fun to read what everyone's doing. I mean, I've tried to visit everyone, go around the country and visit as many people as I can. So the thing that I think that's hurting us that I don't like is that we create these factions and we create these kind of boundaries around our camp of how we specifically apply high-intensity training.
You mentioned, talked about the way you measure your clients' progress through bod pods, etc. One thing I've noticed, and I'm not afraid to be quite public about this, is in Keys Training, a lot of the clients just don't look great. And I would say that's down to diet. Now, diet obviously plays a huge part when it comes to body composition. How do you tackle this in your business?
How do we tackle
the diet component?
The diet aspect? Yeah, so our first answer is we don't, okay? What we firmly believe is that someone's coming to us, we really had to analyze this, someone's coming to us because they want a great workout. They're not expecting us to be the answer for everything in their health and wellness journey, okay? So if we tried to focus really intensely on nutrition, someone would say, well, this nutrition is great, but why don't you also focus on fill in the blank? And then what we always felt is that's a slippery slope. Where do we stop trying to apply our expertise?
Right.
And so we knew as a business model, we wanted to be great at strength training, and that's it. Now, we can talk to our client about their approach to nutrition, but we are super open with them that we're not experts in nutrition. We don't want to be experts in nutrition. From a business standpoint, that's been beneficial for us because there's so many people out there that deal in nutrition, and they will refer their clientele to us because we don't subscribe or adhere to one specific nutritional plan. If we did, we would probably alienate a lot of people. If we said this is the only way to eat, they'd say, well, I don't eat that way. When we say, well, then you can't be our client. When we focus just on strength training, it allows us to grow as a business. Now, we do have one program that we call the Body Composition Challenge, where we do give a little bit more nutrition advice, and that nutrition advice is pretty basic, and it really revolves around the importance of caloric restriction. So can we slightly reduce your caloric intake so we can create a caloric deficit and see changes in body composition? Now, this is neither here nor there, but the changes in body composition that we see in our 1 month body comp challenge, and we do it once a quarter, are absolutely off the charts. The changes we see in body composition, meaning increased lean muscle tissue and decreased fat in 4 weeks period of training, I think are remarkable. So we really produce some remarkable results. But as a whole, we try not to focus on nutrition. The only thing that we will routinely recommend is that we want to consume protein at the time of the workout. So 20 grams of protein either right before, actually during the workout, or right away after the workout. That's the only thing that we consistently preach to our clients.
Interesting. Do you say before or during because of the time it takes for the protein to be used by the body? Because I understand that if you have it after, that can sometimes be too late for when the body requires the protein following the workout.
Yeah, so what we would say is the literature would say that it doesn't have to be post-workout. It can be pre-workout, or it could even be during the workout. I did my workout this morning, and I like to sip on the shake that I'm drinking. It's just a shake that has 20 grams of protein, and I like to sip on it during the entire workout. Workout's about 28 minutes long this morning. The shake was gone, when I finished the workout.
Okay.
So that's what we would generally recommend. And I don't think there's enough evidence to say that it has to be before the workout, right after the workout, or during the workout. But we do want someone to consume and aim for 20 grams or approximately 20 grams of protein around the time of the workout.
Okay. Could you mind revealing what sort of protein you use?
This morning I used something differently than what I normally use. I used a muscle milk shake today that had a chocolate muscle milk shake that had 20 grams.
Okay. Cool. Just on that, so that leads into the next question quite nicely. What is your personal exercise regime and diet regime?
Yeah, so I strength train on average 1.5 times per week. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's twice per week, sometimes it's once per week, sometimes it's once every 5 to 6 days, okay? Now, it just so happens that as a sport, I'm a marathon runner. So I'm getting ready to run the Boston Marathon in 4 weeks here, okay? So I will strategically place my strength training workouts around my marathon training. So I'm going to say last week on a Monday night at about 7 p.m., I had one of our trainers take me through my workout, okay? And that workout was 3 in a row sequence. It was a hamstring curl on a Medix machine using a 30-30-30 cadence. So it was a 30-second eccentric, 30-second concentric, 30-second eccentric, and then absolutely no rest right to leg extension, where I used a 30-second, 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 so eccentric, concentric, eccentric, immediately to a Medix leg press with a goal of 20 repetitions at a 2-second, 4-second cadence. So we would call that a triple pre-exhaust, those 3 in a row. And then after that, I did a isolation movement for my anterior tibialis, which we think is really important for a distance runner to prevent injuries, shin splints, etc. And then the upper body workout there is a set of negative-only dips. So I did a set of negative-only dips. I think this is getting brutally hard. I think I had 145 pounds strapped around my waist on a belt and aiming for 8 10-second negatives. And then a little bit of rest, and then I did the same thing for chin-ups, and I think I had 95 pounds of extra resistance on the negative-only chin-ups. So again, starting on top, 10 seconds down, minimizing the rest in between. So I've covered the chest and the triceps, and really covered the lats and the biceps. And then after that, we go to the pec fly, a Nautilus pec fly, and do a 30-30-30 protocol there. So it's exactly 90 seconds under tension, eccentric, concentric, eccentric. Then I did a 30-30-30 on the pullover, and then I finished with a shrug, and then a normal speed. A normal speed to us means 2-second, 4-second speed on the ab, and then on the Medix lower back. So that was the workout. That was a brutal workout for me. Those negative-only chin-ups and dips are just absolutely brutal. I mean, I feel like it's the toughest thing I can do. That was Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, I met a friend and I did a 23-mile training run. And the reason I did it on a Tuesday is I was flying out Tuesday afternoon to Los Angeles for the International Health Club Conference. And so I needed to get this long run done. So I try to strategically place my strength training workouts so that I can still maximize the runs that I'm doing in my marathon preparation. So generally, it's 1 to 2 30-minute workouts per week. I love the variety of rotating between our different locations and training on the different equipment in our different locations. I'm always trained one-on-one by one of our staff. When I did do a workout when I went to California, we went to the trade show floor, and I was with a number of our staff, and we trained each other and experienced some new equipment that we weren't used to. So I can tell you this, Lawrence, is I'm as passionate and as excited about my workouts now as I ever have been. And I thought maybe that would diminish as time goes on, but I've been doing this a long time, training this way a long time, and I look forward to my strength training workouts more so now than ever. I just enjoy every bit of it.
Awesome. I'm interested because I spoke to James Fisher a bit about skill training, so training for specific sports. So what is, in terms of training for your marathon, how are you training for that effectively? Is it like one run once a week that is as similar or as close to a marathon distance as possible, or how do you train for the skill?
That's a great question. What I like to say is I'm a minimalist marathon runner, or I use high-intensity training principles in marathon running, meaning I do the least amount of running possible to elicit the desired result, which is a really fast marathon performance. So most of my contemporaries, most of the guys that I would run against, are running between 50 and maybe 90 miles a week, and I rarely, if ever, run over 30 to 35 miles per week. Most of those guys are running 5 to 7 times per week. I never run more than 3 times per week. So I do one interval workout per week. I did an interval workout today where I did 800-meter repeats. So I did 800 meters fast, rest for 1 minute and 30 seconds, repeat that 8 times. So that's one interval workout per week. I do one, what we would call a tempo run. So I run fast at a comfortably hard pace, and I vary the distances between 3 miles and 10 miles. I do that once per week. And then I do one long run per week. And the long run is really what I would call the skill training. It's running at a marathon pace or near a marathon pace for a prolonged distance to teach the body to utilize fuel correctly, and also literally just have your feet get accustomed to that time on your feet, the pounding that your legs are going to take during the course of a 26-mile race. So those 3 runs are all I do in terms of runs. And when I tell people that, when I tell other marathoners that, they look at me like I'm nuts, because that is not normal at all. So maybe that's, like I said, 30 to 35 miles in a week, and a lot of times it's less than that. So it's a minimalist approach, but every workout that I do, every one of those runs, really has a focus and has a goal, and the intensity level's high. You know, the analogy I would use is I'm not doing 20 sets per body part, and each one of those sets is a very sub-maximal intensity. Everything I'm doing is a little bit higher level of intensity, relatively speaking.
Sure. What are your thoughts about the damage from running that you might be doing?
Okay, so the damage to my musculoskeletal system or to my cardiovascular system. So both. I'm not as worried about the musculoskeletal system, honestly, because I don't think there's enough research to say that this is actually bad for your knees or this is actually bad for your hips. And honestly, I think that if you strength train appropriately, you can mitigate a lot of that. I'm more concerned with the damage to the cardiovascular system, because I do think there's enough research now, and James is always quick to send me this research. I'm aware of it also. That we definitely know that prolonged marathon and ultra marathon running definitely is correlated with an onset of cardiovascular disease. So just the opposite of what every runner has always assumed, that this is the best thing I can do for my cardiovascular system. Well, it's really not. So I'm aware of that research. It's one of the reasons I've tried to take on a minimalist approach and not running all the time, not running 70, 80, 90 miles a week, but to try to minimize it. And then I guess lastly, I would say that I'm doing it not to improve my health or my fitness. I'm doing it really as a competitive sport. And I think competitive sports can have some ill effect or some negative side effects, and that may be one of those negative side effects.
No, I appreciate that. Right, just a couple more questions quickly, then obviously let you get back to your day. So tell me, what in terms of resources and books, what are your top 5 books on, not necessarily health and fitness, but just your top 5 favorite books that you would recommend to others?
Wow, that is a really tough question, because there's so many books that I love. So one of the best business books that I think everybody in our industry needs to read, is a book called Different. And the author is Youngme Moon. So her first name is Youngme, last name Moon, and she's at Harvard, and she's a marketing faculty member, business faculty, but really focused on marketing. And I think that book applies to any business, but it applies to fitness people more so than anything else. So that book, and I won't spoil it for you, is an unbelievable read. I love 2 other great business books, Good to Great and Built to Last, are seminal books written by Jim Collins, and I think that those are books that don't need to just be read, but they need to be studied. I've talked to a lot of people that have read those books, but they are worthy of reading and studying. do. I mean, I've read both of those books multiple times. When I was 23, 24 years old, or when I turned 24 and I knew I wanted to open a business, I would listen to the book Built to Last on CD repeatedly every night before I went to bed. I mean, I just wanted to memorize the entire book. So that's a great book. Some of my favorite exercise books, this could go on forever, but I love Doug McGuff's Body by Science, and I love the follow-up book that he and John Little wrote to that, the question and answer book.
Brilliant book, yeah.
It's almost more valuable for a personal trainer. I really love everything Ellington Darden's ever written. The first book that we have all of our trainers read is The New High Intensity Training by Ellington Darden. And I love all of his stuff, but I just love the way he writes that book. I think his new book, The Body Fat Breakthrough, is a great book as well. I love, one of my other favorites is Matt Brisky, A Practical Approach to Strength Training. I just think it's so incredibly comprehensive in how he covers everything, and he has an updated edition to that. I just think it's so incredibly comprehensive, and I think he writes from a really unbiased standpoint. Cool. So those are a few of my favorite exercise books. And then really the other thing that I love to read is I love to read the journal articles. And I tell new fitness professionals all the time is you need to be reading research, and a great place to start is I would Google everything James Fisher's ever written, and I would read it all. I mean, he's literally responsible for publishing 2 of the most important papers that have been written in our field over the last 10 years. Amazing. And so I think everything that he publishes, I'm so excited to read.
Wow. No, I knew I've interviewed both James Fisher and James Steele, and both great guys and very, very knowledgeable, but I didn't realize that. I always wondered, are these 2 guys the top guys, or some of the top guys in high intensity training? But you've kind of made it, kind of affirmed that they are definitely up there. And
absolutely.
Excellent. So what is the best way, Luke, for people to contact you and find out about your business, etc.?
Yeah, a great way to do it is well, first of all, they can follow us on Facebook. It's just Discover Strength. So we would put up a ton of Facebook content. We also host a conference every year called the REX Conference, and REX stands for Resistance Exercise. So they can find us at rexconference.com, and we have a Facebook page for that. And if anyone ever has a specific question for me, they can just shoot me an email. It's luke@discoverstrength.com, and I would be happy to respond to any emails. I'm pretty quick at responding.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question. What are your top 3 health and fitness tips to trainees? So not necessarily business advice, but just top 3 health and fitness tips for people.
Okay, so I think these would apply to someone who's brand new, but they would also apply to someone who's been training for a long time. Number 1 is train with supervision. So the research, no one ever talks about this. No one ever brings this up. But the research clearly shows that regardless of what the methodology is, what you're training for, if you are supervised when you train, if someone watches you train, your results will be statistically significantly better. So always be trained by a training partner, by a personal trainer, etc. We think that coaching and supervision is what makes the workout. That's more important than the actual details of the protocol. That's number 1. Mm-hmm. And so many times people that are more advanced say, well, I don't need a trainer, I'm a trainer. Or I don't need a trainer, I'm dedicated. I don't need a trainer, I know what I'm doing. And I just don't think that could be any further from the truth. I'm obsessed with being trained by our own staff. Anytime I'm on a trip somewhere, I love being trained by other strength coaches, personal trainers, etc. That's number 1. Number 2 is train with a high level of intensity. It's find a way to have a here and now focus on the set that you're performing. Treat that specific set, that specific exercise, like it's the only exercise you're going to do in your entire workout, and don't hold anything back for the rest of that workout. Maximize your focus toward the end of that actual set and those final repetitions. That would be number 2. And number 3, and this is going to seem not as physiology based, is that have fun when you're training. Look forward to your workouts. And I could almost backpedal and talk to trainers before. You said, what's one of the biggest mistakes, or where do I see most trainers fail? So many trainers lose their passion for their own workouts. I have so many friends and colleagues who run great training businesses, but they haven't done a workout themselves in months. And so keep a passion for your own personal workouts. You're always going to be more effective with the clients that you work with when you have a passion for your own workouts. So enjoy your own workouts, have fun with your training, look forward to your training, have this mentality of never stop improving, that you can improve your strength, you can improve your technique, you can get more out of these workouts, etc. So those would be my 3 pieces of advice.
That's some great training advice. Well, look, Luke, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. All the best for the business. And as soon as this is live, I'll certainly let you know.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All the best.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.